And DawgNation welcomes in former Georgia quarterback DJ Shockley. I'm excited to get your insight. I feel like you really do have such a unique perspective, and you can help us understand this.
Okay.
As a quarterback, it's easy to spot the developments that you need to make on the field, but I feel like it's a lot more tough to spot the differences that you need to make as a leader. So in the mind of Carson Beck, what are the toughest adjustments that you have to make in that leadership role?
You know, I think a lot of it comes to what you do off the field, because his talent and what he does on the field, you can see that. That's just kind of a given. But I think the things that you do, like getting guys into the film room, getting guys to watch more film, or getting guys outside of it to go eat and have dinner and, you know, just build that camaraderie, I think that's something that it takes a little bit more time. And I think last year, as he was coming into that role, it was like, okay, this is my first year starting. Maybe I can't push guys as much as I used to. Well, it's on or off the field. So I think that leadership role of having a year under your belt and understanding that you can make those calls, you can make those, you know, tough decisions with players or guys around you to say, all right, this is the kind of things we need to do. And I think that's the next step that he will take as being more of a vocal guy. Carson is not the most vocal guy, but I think coming into this role, he's become more vocal because I think Kirby wants it from him. He's told him, you need to be more vocal. I need you to, you know, get on guys' butt a little bit more. But Carson's done a great job, I think, so far. I think his guys respect him. But I think the biggest thing is just the things that you can do outside of football that helps you become even more of a leader. And then once you get on the field, that's the easiest part of it, of being a leader.
As a quarterback, the relationship with the offensive coordinator is so important, and you almost can group in Carson Beck and Mike Bobo together since they came in at the same time. How does the expectation of Mike Bobo change in year two?
You know, I don't know if it changes anymore, because I know he would love to score more points. That's kind of what he is all about. But having Carson as his guy, per se, last year, his first year as offensive coordinator, now in his second year, understanding what Carson can do best, putting him in positions to win, I think is the most important part of it. But Coach Bobo is the smartest guy, one of the smartest guys I know. And I remember when I played for him, I felt as though I was the most prepared I ever was as a player, because I knew going into any game that I knew exactly what the defense were going to do. I knew exactly what we wanted to kind of accomplish, and he would do the same for Carson Beck. And I think that relationship that they built, I've heard the interactions between them. I've been on the sideline where they've talked about certain scenarios, or been in the locker room at halftime where they say, all right, look, this is the kind of stuff we're looking for. We're going to come to this. And I think they had that rapport with each other that'll help them become even better. So I think the expectations will continue to grow for Mike Bobo. He wants to score a lot of points. He wants to be a coach that puts a lot of pressure on the defense. So I think obviously the expectation is the same, which is score a lot of points, but he wants to be a guy that puts a lot of pressure on opposing teams. But ultimately that quarterback is a guy that puts him in positions to win.
I think one of the most fascinating position groups on this year's team is the wide receiver position, because you look at it and there's not one guy that really sticks out above the rest, but you look at the roster, they're all really good, really experienced. Who's the wide receiver you're going to be paying the most attention to this year? You've got tons of options.
That's what I'm saying. I'm thinking about 7 or 8 guys. I think one guy that comes to mind for me is, there's 2 guys really. I think Dominic Lovick is one guy, and I think Colby Young. Because you think about his size, the things that they want to do in the red zone. Colby Young is that kind of guy coming over from Miami that gives you a different look. It's been a while since they had a guy who's 6'4", 6'5", who can, you know, go in the red zone and go up and get it. And that's going to add a new dimension to him. And then I think Dom just taking that next step. He was a really good player for him last year. But I think now, not having a Ladd, not having a Brock, not having Marcus, you know, Rosemary-Jackson, he becomes that kind of ultra-veteran feature guy that you have in that room that you can lean on even more. So those 2 guys are 2 guys that I'm excited to watch. Obviously, adding Landon Humphreys is a big part from Vanderbilt. We saw Dylan Bell come on last year and become a beast for him last year. So they're, like you mentioned, the depth is there. They got a lot of dudes that can get it done. The sky's going to be the limit for them.
I think because Georgia has become so successful over the last few years, it's easy for fans to compare current Georgia teams to the national championship teams, 2021 and 2022. But obviously this team's going to bring something a lot different. Last year's team was way different than those 2 teams. So when you look at this year's team, what separates them and makes them different from the past 3 teams?
I think you got to stay on that offensive side of the ball with the amount of weapons they have. And I think they can go into any game and score 30 points versus anybody. You got a veteran quarterback. You got an offensive line that has so much experience. Even though you lose Van Pran up there, I think you bring in Jared Wilson, who's a guy who's just as talented, and he's going to take that spot over. I mean, you got Routledge on one side. You got so many dudes up there that can get the job done. Trust. I mean, and then we just talked about the receivers. You haven't even talked about the tight ends yet. And Oscar, you bring on Yurchik from Stanford. I mean, there's so many weapons on this offense, and I think that's what's going to separate them. Is over the years, it's been Georgia's defense. Mm-hmm. We know the numbers, not giving up more than 10, 11 points a game. Yeah. But I think now defense still going to be good. It's going to be a big factor. We know Kirby's absolutely going to be about the defense, but this is an offense that can hold his own. They can go out and win ball games for you, as opposed to in the past where it's, all right, the defense, don't let them score. Offense, we score 20 points, we win a ball game. So I think this year you can lean so much more on your offense and Carson Beck to be the part of the, say, three-headed monster of offense, defense, special teams that can go win games.
Last thing, now not only are you watching the game through the eyes of you as a former player, but you're also watching it as a media member.
Yeah.
So many storylines this year. What's the storyline that you're going to be following the most closely?
I think the number one for me is the secondary, because you think about you lose Tyke, you lose Bull, you lose Kamari. Those are three guys who play a ton of football for you. And now, what is going to be, who are going to be the guys in that secondary that's going to help you along with Malachi? We know what Malachi is. He's a two-time All-American. You know he's going to be a stalemate back there. Daling had a lot of work last year because nobody really went at Kamari. So who's going to be the other guys? Is it Julian Humphreys? Is it Aguario? All those guys who can step into that void of filling the spot of losing Bull and Tyke, who are a big part of it. Kamari, I mean, you look at where they go in the NFL draft and the impact they made on their defense, they will be missed. So it's going to be interesting to see which one of those guys steps up and becomes that key guy that helps them in the secondary. Well, DJ, I appreciate you sitting down with me. If DawgNation wants to keep up with you on social media, where can they find you? I'm at DJ Shockley 3 on Twitter and Instagram, so that's where I'm at. Thanks, anyway. DJ.